Hello, it's March 2022. I want to briefly talk about my story and particularly the criminal matter. Now, I've shown screenshots of an email, independent evidence from me, where the fourth lawyer, and I believe it was the fifth Crown prosecutor, were asking me about items that were, or parts of the transcripts that were omitted by request. And I've highlighted the fact how when the first former officer was testifying, I believe it was November 2013, when the criminal trial for the alleged obstruction and alleged assaulting a police officer began, he went on this huge rant with the false narrative regarding the female, and he even made up his own portions of it. And I remember seeing the first copy of the transcripts of that time, and that would have been, just trying to remember now, first time I've seen that could have been in 2014 or 15. And the whole redirect was missing. Now, I just explained about having independent evidence with regards to the transcripts being tampered with. Now, in case anyone doesn't know what a transcript is is supposed to be what is said in court verbatim by all parties. And then there's an opportunity, if something's going to be off record, so everything on record is transcribed, things that are said off record, the judge would have to indicate that. And in fact, I'm just going to segue for a quick second here. There was a couple of times where the judge had stated on record that he's reserving the right to alter the transcripts, but I digress. So the whole redirect was missing from the trial transcripts, and there's a lot that was said from the first former officer that was with this false narrative by the female, or regarding the female, I should say, sorry, and his own made up stuff and everything else. And they were needing that, going to use that to convict me for the said alleged charges. Now, my first and second lawyer were suppressing all the audio recordings and other independent evidence that I gathered with regards to that, which would totally destroy that as the basis for conviction. And then when I took over the criminal trial, I had introduced all that and had 2 voir dires and the whole 9 yards. Now, where it gets interesting further, when you look at when I had filed my Section 11B charter argument in 2016, which took place between the conviction, which was July 2016, and the charter argument, which I believe took place November of 2016, the Crown prosecutor had made a statement that, I'm trying to remember, I can't remember it verbatim, but you see the screenshot beside me here, where he was confused as to why the criminal matter had taken so long, because the first former officer had complicated everything when he first testified. Now, the first former officer testified again in 2015, and so did the second former officer testify. And they kind of were dodging around it because now they're committed to it on record, or they would be lying. But there was no focus on that. And then it all spun around. They tried to spin it around to that I was allegedly disrespecting the officer, when all their testimony to that point was just supporting that I was cooperative. I could have left if I wanted to, the whole 9 yards. So anyway, I just wanted to highlight how I have that email, and I also have the Crown prosecutor for the criminal matter stating that the whole thing got so complicated, and I believe he was saying to the effect of it should have been like a half-day trial and over with. But my point really is to show And that further supports how ridiculous the criminal matter was. And the fact that during the criminal trial, the first time I testified, he told the judge that I was suing the city of Calgary, and that's where the whole political interference part comes in, and everything else has it unfolded. But when you look at that email and that statement that managed to survive in the trial transcript by the Crown prosecutor, this whole thing is a big mess. And again, I'm stuck holding the crap into the stick. And none of this would have happened if the two former officers didn't decide to do street justice on the female's behalf. And in fact, in the portion, and there's other parts of the trial transcripts that are missing portions and rewritten and everything else, but during the the redirect, that was completely, the whole thing is gone. And the way it's written now, there was no redirect. The first former officer clearly said, and he yelled it, being all theatrical, that we did what we did to him so he wouldn't do that to anyone else. And I remember at that moment, the trial judge looked over at me like, basically saying, yeah, you're screwed. But this whole thing, everything went sideways for everyone. Even my efforts went sideways because of what they did. And that false allegation that was December 2012, again, I remember going over my notes and videos at the time and other evidence and so forth. Was the female being pressured to do that? Was she trying to bring me into it because I showed the audio where she was asking for help, and she was asking, and a few others were asking for help prior to that, and it's like, this is not my fight. I tried to guide them, to tell them the steps that they need to take, but I couldn't do it on my own. So it all ties into the sexual abuse, the sex trafficking of vulnerable women within the mental health industry in the province of Alberta. Anyway, there's videos on all that. I just wanted to share that for what it's worth. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, when is it going to get easier? When you die.